Well, I'm sure a lot of you have seen the latest Leica Q3 videos and the Leica Q3 43mm, which, well, because of the hype is quite popular on YouTube and on the social media. I actually tried the Leica Q2 back in the days and I enjoyed this camera pretty much, except the 28 is not exactly my focal length. I prefer the 35mm. If you watched my channel before, I'm talking about this every time. So, well, for me it's obvious. I cannot afford a Leica, and that was like the main reason for this video, because today I want to talk about the very, in my opinion, underappreciated combo, which is the A7C with the Zeiss 35 2.8. So here it is, like a poor man's Leica, but still very sexy. So yeah, today I want to talk about the A7C with the Zeiss 35 2.8, which has become my everyday, well, maybe not everyday, but pretty much everyday carry. So first of all, this is a rangefinder style camera, which I prefer when shooting cameras. I really like the rangefinder style cameras, so that's why I've chosen this A7C, because, well, of the design as well. And it's really compact, so in this case, if you pack it with the 35 2.8, it really makes it a small camera that you can fit in everyday, like carry bag or a backpack. And I was definitely looking for like a everyday full frame combo for myself, and well, the A7C was the first step to get it, but I was using the 35 1.8 lens before, but for me it's like a little too big for the A7C. It's the length ratio between the body and the lens is too big, and I think well, I really love this lens and the image it produces, but it doesn't quite fit with the A7C for me. So I've decided to get the Zeiss 35 2.8 because of the size, because of the compact size, because of the feel you get from this combo, and that this is a full frame camera. I really love the full frame rendering. I really like the full frame image, the detail you get from full frame. It's really hard to achieve that with an APS-C camera. So, well, I do own the APS-C cameras and I really like Fuji, and for like street or for holiday it's a perfect choice. But for like everyday street, for everyday portraits, I think the full frame suits better. So that's why I like the A7C, because it gives me that compact size and still it provides the full frame quality, the depth of field and the dynamic range. And the AF, well, the AF from A7C is great. It's great for stills, it's good for video. I think it's like a perfect hybrid camera for everyday shooting. You can switch between the stills and the video, and you can pretty much customize the buttons and make this camera really fit your needs and your shooting style. And of course it's got IBIS, which is good. I think it's good. It's not perfect, especially for video, but for stills it's really okay. And well, considering the ISO capability of the A7C, which is very good, you can shoot up to like ISO 6400 and the pictures will still look nice. And so if you're shooting with this combo, which is 2.8 aperture, you will probably really appreciate the built-in IBIS and the ISO performance in this camera. So the 35 2.8 Zeiss, it's a lens that nobody is talking about these days, and I think it's a very underappreciated lens. It is an old lens, of course, and because maybe of the aperture, which is 2.8, it's not that popular, but for street photography, for portraits, I think for environmental portraits, it's really great. I don't really need the 1.4 or 1.8 aperture. I was shooting 2.5 and 2.8 with my 35 1.8 for portraits, and then I realized I don't need this like 1.8 aperture, because if I can get the lens that is pretty much the half size of the 35 1.8 and still get a great quality shots from it, then, well, why shouldn't I? Yeah, this lens is not cheap. I think it's quite, well, I think it's quite expensive for what it is, but if you get this lens, you will learn to appreciate it in time, and you will learn that this lens is actually kind of a lens that this lens lets you appreciate photography and the learning process, because you are focusing on the frame, you're not focusing on the blurred background, which can be really nice, and it's a little busy. That for me it's a great feature, because I like a vintage rendering a little bit, and this lens lets you achieve this a little busy, a little swirly bokeh. Well, I really like it. It is a Zeiss lens, but it's not like a clinical Zeiss lens. I mean, it's very sharp, but I actually put a glimmer glass on it, and it just removes that digital sharpness a little bit, but it's still sharp, and the glimmer glass doesn't take away the contrast from the image. It doesn't take all the blacks from your image, so it's really nice. Well, the major con for me is the minimum focusing distance, which is, I think it could be a little closer, because the 35 centimeters is sometimes it's too far. I want to get closer sometimes, capture some specific details, and this lens won't let me do that. But, well, I don't care. And I really learned to appreciate this lens, because it makes me want to shoot pictures and not to change lenses. I really like the 35mm focal length, and, well, this lens made me love it even more, because I use it for almost everything. And paired with the A7C, it makes it a really like a classy combo, which is modern but has this a little vintage vibe to it, this little Leica vibe, and it really makes you want to shoot this camera. I know the Sony cameras are not the most inspiring ones, but the A7C with the 35 2.8, I think it's one of the most inspiring cameras I've ever shot with, and it's a full frame camera. And of course, I don't have to tell you that it is way cheaper than the Leica Q3. And of course, you can switch lenses, because this is an interchangeable camera. Well, I'm using it mostly with the 35 2.8 now, and it's like, for me, it's like a poor man's Leica right now. And what I like about it is that I can use it both for video and for stills. It's like a really cool creator's camera, because you can shoot great pictures and you can shoot great looking 4K video. And you can switch between the two on the fly. So if you need this like a certain scene, you can photograph it and you can record it at the same time, well, almost at the same time. So for me, this Pullman's Leica combo is actually right now it's my #1 camera. I use it a lot and I think it deserves a lot more attention, because this old lens and this new camera are just a perfect match for today. The funny thing, I was like hearing and reading on the social media about the Leica Q3 is that people tend to sell all their gear just to get the Q3. And that's cool, okay, if you want one camera, if you are a minimalist shooter like I am, then it's okay. But I could do that, I could sell all my gear and get a Leica Q3. But you know what? I would definitely miss my gear after like a month or so. I do like to shoot with 1 or 2 cameras. It's like I'm a minimalist shooter, but I know that I would miss the interchangeable cameras at some point, and I would miss my APS-C cameras as much as I would miss my like A7C, for example. So, well, this is a funny thing for me, and it's definitely not a thing that I would do. Okay, so why the A7C or not the A7C2 or 7CR? Because I think for an everyday camera, the A7C, the original A7C, is better because it's way cheaper. So you can get the 35 and the A7C for basically lower price than the A7C2, and for me that is much better choice, because I like to take this camera pretty much everywhere. So because for me, like it's like better to take a cheaper camera out, because I'm very very cautious with my gear, and I pretty much sometimes I'm afraid to take the more expensive cameras out when I'm shooting on the street. So the A7C is pretty much a better choice from the financial side. And it still gets pretty much impressive results, and I'm still shooting a lot of stuff with the A7C that is used for my, let's say, professional works, although I'm not a professional. Okay, so this is pretty much my review of this great combo, and if you're looking for an everyday full-frame camera, you should definitely consider the A7C with a 35 2.8 from Zeiss, because this camera has, well, this combo has stolen my heart in the recent days, and I'm not trying to sell you this, but yeah, I think you should get one.